Hey, this is Mrs. Grella. I'm just going to show you another video of how to solve transversal problems with equations, kind of like what you have to do on your homework for delta. So they're giving you two angles. The angle over here is 6x minus 1 degrees, and then the angle over here is 5x plus 28 degrees. So I've drawn the diagram over here. If you notice, they have a relationship of corresponding angles. They're in the same spot. For example, here, this angle is the top right of the angle cluster, and this is also the top right of the angle cluster. If you recall from the vocabulary, corresponding angles are equal to each other. So if they're equal to each other, we would say that 6x minus 1 must be equal to 5x plus 28. All right, those are the degrees of each angle, and the one angle is equal to the other angle. So that's how you would start that. You would set that up. Since you don't know what either angle is, you can't really find it yet until you set up the equation that represents their relationship, and now you would solve for x. Since we have to solve for x, we have to use DCVS. There's no distributive property because there's no parentheses, so that's done. There are no like terms on the same side. Like we can't combine these, we can't combine these. So the left or right sides we can't combine, but we do have variables on both sides. So if you recall from earlier in the year, we would move the smaller variable over using inverse operations. So that would leave us with 1x, or just x, and I would bring everything else down. So I would have x minus 1 equals 28. All right, so then to get x alone, I would add the 1. So I get x equals 29. So that's my value for x. On delta, I think it only asks you to find the value of x. Yep, it asks you to find the value of x. So that would be the answer we would input, and that would be correct. If they asked you to find the angle themselves, which I think the Khan Academy video showed you as well, you would substitute x as 29, and then you would evaluate each expression, and they would actually be equal because they're supposed to be equal. Corresponding angles are equal. All right, so for example, if you substituted x in for 6x minus 1, so 6 times 29 minus 1. So if I put that into my calculator, I get 173. And that would be the degree of that top angle. All right, so the bottom angle should be the same. We could verify that though. We could do 5 times x, which is 29. So 5 times 29 plus 28. If I use that calculator for that, that would also give me 173. So that makes sense. So if they wanted the angles themselves, then you would substitute the value of x. But since delta only asks for the value of x, we would just give them that x is 29. So 29 is our answer. We want to submit it, yes. And it's correct. And then they show you again, since they're corresponding angles, the process of solving. All right. This one would be set up very similarly. This is these are alternate interior angles. They're on the inside of the parallel lines, and they're also on opposite sides of the transversal. So alternate interior angles would be set equal to each other as well. You'd solve it very similarly. All right, here's one that's a little different. The setup would be a little different. So they're telling you that x plus 3 is this x minus 3, sorry, is this angle here, and then x plus 5 is this angle there. So if I were to draw that diagram again on my paper, I have this angle as x minus 3, and I have this angle as x plus 5. Now these angles are actually not equal to each other. These are same side exterior angles. All right, same side exterior angles are supplementary. They add to 180. Also keep in mind, like this angle up here would be supplementary with this pink angle, and the pink one would be the same as this one over here. So if this one, x minus 3, is supplementary with the pink angle, it would also be supplementary with that angle since they're the same thing. So these are supplementary. So instead of equaling them to each other, you would add them to 180, because that's what supplementary means. Supplementary means they add to 180. So x minus 3 plus x plus 5 equals 180. That's an alternative setup. If they're not equal, they're probably supplementary in this picture. All right, so you would add up the two angles. You don't need the parentheses. Set them equal to 180. All right, so then we do our DCVS again. 1x and 1x would be 2x. Negative 3 and positive 5 would be positive 2. And then we solve for x. We minus 2 to both sides. So 2x equals 178. We divide both sides of the equation by 2. And that would give us 89 for x. And again, that's our answer for x. If we wanted to figure out what each angle was, we could substitute x as 89. So 89 minus 3 would be 86. And then 89 plus 5 would be 94. So that's the two angles would be. But on delta, I think they only wanted x. So we would just, it's a different question. I don't know what happened. But we would just plug in 89 as our answer.